So before you even became a Scrum Master, project manager, you were in the National Guard or the Army, one of the two?
I, I was in the Army National Guard in New Jersey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how was
As
that?
that was that was interesting until it wasn't. No, no, I don't want to like I don't want to like throw shade or anything. I feel like it served its purpose, and I'm very grateful for my time in the service. I think it kind of jump started my discipline and kind of pushed me into the direction that I needed to go in my life at that time. So I will never take away from all the good that came out of serving in the military. I mean, I ended up with the job I have today because of the military. So
We're here with another daily stand up. Today I have a special guest, a fellow agilist, Scrum Master, Melody. I'll let Melody introduce herself and then we'll get started.
so I'm Melody, and I am a Scrum Master, but nowadays we're saying team coach. I've been doing Agile for probably like 3 years now, so I'm fairly new. Um, but I've been immersing myself in this world tremendously. So any chance that I get, any trainings, any readings, anything like that, just anything to gain more knowledge and just practice the continuous improvement.
Right, that's interesting. So 3 years, but you know a lot already about agile, and I think that goes to that constitutes to you just diving in like you did. So, with that being said, can you give us a little insight of what you were doing before you became a Scrum Master?
Yeah, so before the company I work for transitioned to the Agile framework, they were running under the traditional waterfall. So I was essentially a junior project manager with the intent of eventually being certified and becoming a full-time project manager in the traditional waterfall sense. So at that time, I was working in the project management office, just kind of taking on little projects and learning from the senior PMs. I used to do a lot of our reporting. So that was like my first step into corporate America, essentially.
So, what would you say is better from your perspective? Do you like agile or the
Hmm.
waterfall method
I,
that companies typically use?
I definitely enjoy Agile more. It's something like, at least for me and the way I learn and my personality, I just fit right in. Um, I like the flexibility of it. I think Um, I mean, we have guardrails in place, but not when you compare it to the waterfall method. Like, those are very extreme and kind of set in their ways, and there's no space for innovation. There's no space for any real creativity when you're really running a waterfall method because everything's just laid out and that's just what it is. So I think I enjoy the agile way because of that, and just more or less just the whole culture change that it brought into my organization. It just, I feel like it allowed me to be more authentic and more comfortable in bringing myself to work versus putting on a face.
So what would you say is the hardest thing about learning agile, not implementing or teaching it to someone, but for you, what was the hardest thing for you to learn about agile and becoming a scrum master?
For me personally, or like the way, like teaching it in general.
No, just for you. Just for you. Was what was the your struggle with learning?
Um, I think the one thing I do struggle with, or that I've struggled with, is just making the connection through each level of, because we follow a safe model. It's not like we just do Scrum, because when you Scrum is very simplified. It's like I could teach it to my teenage daughter and she could learn it real quick. But when you start adding layers, like, under um the safe um way of doing
Framework.
it, and then Right. And then also like my company, well, any company is going to massage it to fit their needs. And so I think I struggled with just understanding how everything connected. But I find it that every time I take like a role based training, right? So like I am like I took the agilist um so it kind of gave me a better view of how everything connected, the certified agilist. So and then I'm gonna do the RTE. So I feel like every time I take a role based training, it kind of helps me fill in any of those gaps where I might not fully understand how everything connects because that I don't know if you've seen the updated Save Six, just like that whole chart. It's a lot going on and it could be very overwhelming, but breaking it down, you could have a full understanding of how everything connects and how everything rolls together all the way to the team level. So
Yeah, and I could say I struggled with the same thing before I started seeing the value in what I was doing, and that came when I became a business owner, right? So a lot of companies, they say, "Oh yeah, this is going to work. This is going to work," but from the bottom level to the top level, it's a disconnect because everyone has certain roles, everyone does certain things, but if you understand every role, it's like you playing on a sports team. If you understand what one position does, it'll make it easier for you to do or get that person the ball, whatever sport you're playing, and say, okay, this is what that person does, and this is why they do it. So I understand that because when I first became a scrum master, it was like Chinese. It was like, okay, I learned this, and then I'm trying to move up, and then I'm like, okay, when I moved up, I understand what the scrum master really did and what it really entailed about why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I kept moving up, and then I'm like, okay, release train engineer. I get everything from the top down. Now I'm moving up, and I'm like, okay, I understand why the company will want to implement this because it's so quick, it's so innovative, it's so structured, but it's not like so much documentation and can't pivot. That's what I like about
yeah,
agile because you can pivot. You could quickly solve problems on the fly.
yeah, definitely the pivot, right? The flexibility of it. And also just removing the unnecessary waste. I think it's a very valuable aspect of it.
It's like the gym, right? Leaning it out. That's what I refer to. Like lean muscle. We want straight muscle. We don't want any fat. Let's cut off
Right.
the
Cut
excess.
off cut off the waste. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So before you even became a scrum master, project manager, you were in the National Guard or the Army, one of the two.
I, I was in the Army National Guard in New Jersey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how was
As
that?
that was that was interesting until it wasn't. No, no, I don't want to like I don't want to like throw shade or anything. I feel like it served its purpose, and I'm very grateful for my time in the service. I think it kind of jump started my discipline and kind of pushed me into the direction that I needed to go in my life at that time. So I will never take away from all the good that came out of serving in the military. I mean, I ended up with the job I have today because of the military, so I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, I think the Navy is a lot better. No, I'm joking, but
I'm
but I just
not
say that
gonna
because
I'm not gonna argue.
I just say that because I started out similar to the way that you did, but I met someone in the Navy that because I was a reservist too, and then I served active duty for a long duration of time, but I started out as a reservist. And when I met my friend, he told me about Scrum, and I was
What the hell is that? Everybody's
like
like, what is that?
I'm like, that's fake. Man, that's fake, man. I've never heard of that. Like, what are you doing? And he was like, no, man, you'll be a perfect fit. You're a great leader. You influence people. People listen to you. Like
Yeah.
you're charismatic. People like you because as a
I,
scrum master, people have to like you.
I was gonna say that. I think your personality type is a big, big factor if you're gonna step in this role. I don't believe the role is for everybody, honestly. No matter how much you learn, if you don't possess those natural personality traits that are going to be the forefront of everything else you do, it's just not the job for you.
Yeah, we call them soft skills. If you don't have good soft skills that will propel the company, the teams that you're working with, because I have been on teams where I didn't fit. It was
Yeah,
very dry. It was very like cloudy in a sense. Like it was always a dark cloud over the team because it was either developers that didn't want to do it, they want to continue working the way they wanted to work in silos. But with
yeah,
Scrum, it comes from rugby, so you have to move the ball as a team.
as a
And
team, yeah.
but it's I've been laid off from jobs because I didn't fit.
Yeah, I mean it's life, right? And so you asked before what was what's it I think was the hardest part about like learning or stepping into this world for myself. But I think in a because to your point, what you were just saying, I think in general, I think the hardest part of adapting agile in a workplace is getting everybody on board, right? And so if you don't have a certain mindset, you're not going to fit in and eventually you will be laid off, right? If you are not thinking with a growth mindset, you will never fit in because
Yeah.
you're always going to fight it, and then the organization will eventually say no, like you're not fitting in. You have to be flexible, you have to be willing to try new things, you can't be stuck in your ways. It doesn't work with folks like that, and it becomes difficult, right? At least for a team coach, we've all been on teams where you have one or maybe even half the team where it's like they're just not buying it. So it takes a really strong coach to really work through that, I believe. I think you could really influence somebody's um, shift them, the mindset. Some people are really much stuck in their ways, but you could definitely get them to a place where it's enough to make things work.
Yeah. And a lot of people like to see results, result driven. But what I tell every organization when I go into, coaching or implementing agile or implementing a certain framework, you have to give it time to manifest, time to work itself out, because it's not going to happen in the first sprint. It's not going to happen in the second sprint. We have to get that data and see what's working, see what's not working. That's what I love about Scrum, because every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever your time box is, you come back and say, okay, what's working, what's not working, what can we do better, what's the actions on those things, and then you monitor those things. And I try to tell every company, if you implement agile, that retrospective is very important, because you could
Hmm.
look at it from a finance perspective, you can look at it from an improvement point of perspective, cultural perspective. But if you are not open to that change and open to resolving those problems, then it's not going to be beneficial to anyone,
Right.
because too much pushback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the company that you're working with, I understand you guys just went through PI planning. How was that? I know it's
It was
chaotic at times.
I mean, it's organized chaos. That's what it is. But no, I think it went pretty well considering we had a couple of hurdles in P1, and so based off that and some additional changes that happened on a on a greater scale, definitely has a lot of impact on teams and the way that they were structured, and teams no longer existing, new teams being stood up just like a week or two before. So we just really had to like work through those changes and I guess, really do our best with where we were standing at that moment. So I think considering all of that, I think it went pretty well.
That's good. That's good. So what's the biggest takeaway from PI planning? What's the most important thing? I have my own point of view on this, but I just want to know what yours is, and then I'll tell you what I feel the most important thing coming out of PI planning is.
For the entire plan or like on a team level.
Um, the across the entire plan. So like all teams, like
All
what should they know?
trains.
Yeah, what should they
Yeah,
know
so
coming out?
we do our PI planning with several trains that make up our
Hmm.
entire org. So I think for us at least, the main thing is really understanding the objectives, right? Um, understanding those top key features, and really making sure that everyone, not just individual teams, everyone is confident in what we are committing to delivering in that quarter. I think that is the focus and the bread and butter of the event is just, are we confident in our committed plan for this one quarter?
Yeah, and I can agree to that. And you hit it right on the head. The only thing that I would say that I would add to that is communicating dependencies. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm tired of hearing about dependencies. No, it's like a joke. It's a joke in our organization because it's like a running joke. But yeah, of course, right? I mean, we have to identify dependencies. We need to make sure that we have buy-in and we negotiate. I mean, that is part of the overall plan, right? You can't commit to a
yeah,
plan without discussing dependencies and getting buy-in and agreements, because any dependency could really mess up your entire plan if they're not properly communicated and properly agreed on. So,
yeah. So I know we're right at 15 minutes in that Scrum Master. We try to stay inside the time box. So I have a special announcement. This is very exciting. I'm glad to welcome Melody on to the Daily Stand Up. She will be the co host to the Daily Stand Up, interviewing people, interviewing businesses, just talking about how we can help and try to get the name of that business out there.
yeah.
So, Melanie, thank you for joining. Thank you for having this interview. And thank you for being here with me. And I feel like this is going to be a great business relationship going forward. Is there anything you want
Yeah.
to say to everyone before we end the call?
No, no, I'm just excited. I look forward to working with you, Dom, and seeing where we could take all this. So I'm just, I'm excited. I like jumping into new things, and everything is a learning opportunity. So I'm looking forward to learning from you and your guests, and just the whole process that we're gonna go through.
All right. And
Or
again, thanks,
journey.
Melody. So, again, that's the Daily Stand Up. I'm Dominic Holliday, and my co host, Melody. That's the Daily Stand Up. Peace.
All right, bye.
Whether you're a business in the big city or a small business in the middle of nowhere, growing your business can be very difficult and time consuming without having the right resources. At Holiday Systems Inc., we focus on two key elements to help your company reach its full potential: marketing and management. If you agree with just one of those items, let's get agile. Agile is a set of techniques, values, and principles designed to help guide and improve development teams on how to produce services and products. Now, let's get creative. It's easier said than done. I've met thousands of companies, and eventually, they all say the same thing: I just can't come up with any good ideas. At Holiday Systems, we take care of the creative process for you. Simply put, we make your business